It's now 7:01 PM. I'll call to order this regular meeting of the Town of Winchester Zoning Board of Appeals, May 28, 2024, 7:01 PM. The Town of Winchester Town Hall, 338 Main Street, Winston, Connecticut, located here in the P. Francis Hicks Room. Present tonight are regular members Aubrey English, Ron Dew, and Ellie Gunn. Regular member Paul Mitchell, absent, excused. Regular member John Pollock, absent. Alternate member Ryan Horvath is present, and alternate members absent are Todd Skutnik and Marianne Marino. So for the purposes of tonight's meeting, I'm going to seat Mr. Horvath as a regular member, and what it will entail is that we will only have at the moment, a 4-member board present here. So the way things work here on procedures is that to have your project approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals, it requires 4 affirmative votes, not just a simple majority. You can get 3 affirmative votes, but if the other 2 were to vote against it, you wouldn't have your project. Once in a while, we get a circumstance to where we only have 4 people present. We would have a full board. So in order to have your project approved, would require the affirmative votes of every seated member here present tonight. So it will be up to you if you want to continue your presentation for your project, or you can also choose to possibly continue it to next month's meeting in June, and hopefully we'd have a 5-member sitting board here too. So it will be up to you, and I'll give you that opportunity. You can think about it for a couple minutes. As I just continue to read on what the procedure here. For public hearings of variances and special permits generally, you include the applicant's opportunity to provide information regarding the application, a chance for our board to ask questions, a chance for anybody here in the public to ask questions, and at the end of those hearings will be a closing comment by the applicant themselves. It would be a good time to explain also to the applicant and to anyone in the public, just for purposes of regular order, just address any comments or questions you have directly to the chair. We would pass it along to whomever too. So with that said, I will go ahead and open up the call to the floor. Zoning Board of Appeals application 24-2, a special exception, 122 Shore Drive. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Have a seat before us here, and I don't know why they don't have a microphone there.
It was locked.
The
Town clerk's office was locked.
Gotcha. We can hear you okay though, too, so. Why don't you go ahead and state your name and address for the record, and,
My name's Ronald Belanger, live at 122 Shore Drive, Winston, Connecticut.
okay, and Lance and Augie, we do have all certifications,
We do.
mailings, and everything required?
We
done?
do.
Okay, good. All right.
Before you continue, since you should have Augie do it, you should read into the record what was the public hearing announcement.
Legal notice, Town of Winchester Zoning Board of Appeals, public hearing. Town of Winchester Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing at a regular meeting on May 28th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the P. Francis Hicks Room, located on the 2nd floor of Town Hall at 338 Main Street, Winsted, to act on the following. ZBA number 24-2, variance, location 122 Shore Drive, applicant/owner Ronald Bellinger. Proposal, in addition to a single-family house with a 24.6-foot south side yard setback, build a garage with a 40-foot front yard setback, 12-foot south side yard setback, and a 27.9 12-foot north side yard setback, a 4.2% increase in impervious surface coverage. Interested parties may appear and be heard, dated this 14th day of May 2024. Aubrey English, Chairman, Zoning Board of Appeals, May 17th and 24th, 2024.
And that's Belanger or Belanger?
Belanger.
Belanger, okay. Okay. Mr. Belanger, like I mentioned here at the beginning here, since we're under a situation where we just only have 4 seated members, you know, you do have the right to, if you wish to continue this till next month, if we hopefully would have a full 5-member board seated here, you can do that. If you would like your project heard tonight in front of us too, we can do the same thing too. The only exception would be you would have to have all members vote in favor of your application. And again, it's completely up to you.
I'd like to move forward.
Absolutely, we're all ears. Go ahead and tell us about your project.
Well, we bought that almost 20 years ago, but it was a weekend home. My wife and I retired, and we lived there permanently. I have a son, a daughter-in-law, and 2 grandchildren. I only have a 2-bedroom home upstairs, so they're staying in one room. The kids are getting older, so I want them to have their room. And we do not have a bath upstairs. My wife is 73. At night, we have to go down the stairs, which is, you know, kind of small, kind of narrow. You know, safety-wise, it's not a great thing, and that was a big reason for doing it. Part of putting a garage is we're on an incline. She's having a hard time to get in the car in the driveway. So if I had something straight off, she would get in much easier. But there is a safety concern with going down the stairs at night, very much so. And also having the grandchildren and their mom and dad in the same room. I mean, it's not a big house the way it is, so it's kind of tight.
Okay. All right.
And we are gonna live there permanently now, so.
Okay. Do we have any questions for this applicant here?
Only question I have is, there's no house plan, so we don't know just what is being built as far as height limits are concerned.
You should have had that, but I have outside, you want outside drawing?
Yeah, like is the garage single story? There's
Yes.
no living space above the garage?
No.
You're adding this back corner, I'm assuming you're filling that 2-story? In the, would be the,
Off the deck,
off the deck,
yes, yes,
matching roof line?
yes. And that's gonna be the kitchen, because right now we're in a very small area.
So it's single story, it's only a one, or it's a basement and,
Well, it's double story, but only a portion of the house.
okay,
They did additions years ago, but never put a second story on top of the addition. So it's a 2-bedroom, hardly without a closet, you know,
yep,
over the house.
okay.
But there's other parts of the roof that's already there, but we wanna go up from there to give us.
Do you have a drawing of it, just for?
I had to turn those in.
So this is the garage,
Yes,
and then this is the addition area? This is water facing?
that's water facing, yes.
So this essentially
Is
is
that.
this piece.
Correct.
This would be the section.
The deck is an L shape, which now it would not be, it would be just in front of the house, towards the lake.
So this is the house here right now, this is the addition right there.
This is the garage, so the garage door would be here, so this is the proposed garage side. This is the waterfront side, which is here. So this is deck, this gets boxed in and filled.
Okay.
That's what that door is.
That'll extend the kitchen because,
Fill the area. And then
Typical
above
water
that
side.
becomes your, like a master
Yeah.
type suite.
yeah, and
This is the garage
Yeah.
on the roadside, doors going in this way. side, this back corner, yeah. This back corner here is what they're filling in.
Okay.
But there's nothing on the water side going any farther than
Yeah,
what's
nothing's-
existing.
Is that the elevation?
Now, none of this had to go before wetlands or anything, did it? This this is just completely our board, that's just making
It's
sure.
outside the reviewer, right?
You have plans for these with your applications
I
or
do
anything?
not.
No, I don't remember seeing an attachment for that either, so we should have asked, but
Yeah,
I gave them to
Shane?
Shane.
I don't think it made it into your file, cause I don't remember seeing it before
No,
either.
there's none in here. Can I see that?
sure.
Is that just, yeah?
Yes.
If you don't have, I'll need a copy of that.
Was that what that sketch you just showed us, was that the only building plan you had for that, or did you have some other architectural plans that you
No,
had?
that's the only,
That's the only thing you included in there? Okay.
yeah,
All right.
and the interior, which,
Which you would see eventually as well.
And we're going from 35.5% impervious to 19.2. I'm assuming you're making that up with pervious pavers and,
yes.
is it pavers or concrete or?
pavers.
Yeah. So the existing
I do
driveway,
have pavers there now,
Yeah.
they are pervious.
So you are adding to the second floor as well?
Yes. Because the existing house only has a portion of a second floor. Like if the kitchen was added before, there's no second floor above that, the bathroom.
Is the majority of the roof line gonna remain? Or are you proposing changing the whole roof line as well?
The roof line would change, yes.
In height?
Yes. The roof line not very much different.
No, I'd like, I mean, even if we come up with a halfway up here, I don't know what the overall height is gonna be.
So this is, here's coming in from the garage.
Right,
Garage is this way.
yeah,
So is one of these pictures the original height?
here's the existing.
yeah, yeah,
So this is all gonna be filled.
right. Yeah, going over this way with it.
And then carrying a gable across over the top
Yep.
of it all.
Yep. Right now, we're,
Now you're here,
yeah,
roughly about here. with the roof
8,
line.
9, 17, 25 feet. 25 feet, halfway up this, from the contour, and it just, we're gonna be close to that.
Did Keith
Yes.
see your plans?
Yeah, so-
Yes,
Did he put heights on anything?
I supplied a couple weeks ago.
To Shane or to Keith? Did Keith do a proposed,
I know.
no? the existing? It's just from the road. It'll fill that whole area, so it basically turns it into a square box, so it'll look more like a regular colonial without the kicker.
These the drawings that he has here, is that picture, that is?
It's hard to tell.
That's
It's
what
got blue eyes and
he's
logging.
trying to figure out now.
I was trying to come up with the average height.
Drawing is drawing, but. Do you mind if I draw on this?
Can we get copies of that made before you drop mark on it?
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
Take them both.
Yeah, so Elliot, it looks like it's the same, like that window's just moved over above the door to make it equal. But I don't.
need sleep.
It's 3 stories on the water side, but I think only 2 on the street, right? Am I correct? So this is a deck, 2nd story deck. So that gets 2 full, that ends up a 3-story addition. Basement space.
Correct.
1st floor, 2nd floor. This is already 2-story with basement below. So this doesn't gain height, other than moving the roof to the center, I assume is what it's creating. Am I correct in thinking that? The roof
Yes.
the peak is just kind of moving towards the middle of the house?
Correct.
Is that what it shows off? It was a 7 pitch on the house roof?
It shows a 7, yes.
Oh, great.
Augie.
Augie.
But with the 7 pitch, it adds almost 9 feet.
Yeah, I know.
To
That's
the-
what I'm asking, yeah. So I take half of that, 4.5 feet on top of that, 2.5. I don't know.
I guess, I think we need a little bit better description of, with the drawings.
What we're trying to look at is you're allowed 30 feet in average height from the,
I'm not gonna be any taller than any of the neighbors.
yeah, it's just it's
It's the
part of it's
regulation.
one of the regulations, so it would end up needing another variance request for height.
Is this the lakeside?
Yeah.
Is the height requirement, is it measured from the lowest point of grade or from the street side of the grade?
Average.
It's the average.
It's average for the house.
And then halfway up.
It's an 8 pitch on the roof.
Yeah?
So where does that leave us?
I'm just trying to get the center height of it, that's all. How white the house is, nothing shows me here.
In the past, haven't we asked for,
Drawings.
yeah, I mean, we did that with Morrison Monk and asked for different drawings.
Maybe yours is a little better than mine, but I got a 7 on one and the other one's hard to tell, but.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, yeah, on the water side, looks like a 8 on that one. Try it again here.
Yes. That's what I have.
Eight, 12,
Yeah,
7, 12 on the dormer. And 8 on the water side, so the water and the main house are both 8, and
Yeah.
the dormer's a 7.
yep.
I don't know that it's gonna be over, cause he's got 8'4", 9 foot, 8 foot. And then on the street side, it's a 9 and 8, so even when you add in for the average, I think it's gonna be under, but I don't know for sure.
So at this point, are we guessing with this? Should we ask for more concrete drawings?
I think so.
I think if we're gonna be on the safe side as far as that goes, if there's any question as to, you know, the decision we make is, falls within the guidelines there too. If we need more information.
It might be as simple for you as asking Keith to put in the current and then proposed height.
He's gonna be over about 2 feet.
You think so?
Well, if you're running an 8 on that that 16 feet wide, the building. So 16 times 8, which is 8 inches per every foot that's there. That gives you 128 inches, if I'm not mistaken, right? 16 times 8, it's 128 inches divided by 12, that's 10 feet, 10.66 feet of a rise on that attic floor.
Yep.
But what's the net? Because he already has height there. He's not actually adding. I understand what you were meaning by it. But he has a set of, the second floor already exists.
Right.
You know? He's just, the roof line, the eaves on the roof line are dropping down and the peak is going up. We just have to figure out the difference between the two. But according to this, the way it stands now, from the roof line to there, you're over. By
What
2
does
feet.
it have to be?
It's gotta be 30 feet, if
30.
I'm not mistaken.
30 max on it, yeah. That's taking the average first floor.
I
base
took
would be
4 feet for the,
yeah.
I took 4 feet,
Yeah.
2 inches for the first floor,
That's what I did, yeah.
so.
4, 13, 21. 21, 31, yeah, 31, 32 feet.
I had
Yep.
32, it's almost 33 above. By the time you add the 2 feet.
Are these plans something that you took out of a book, or did
No.
somebody draw them for
The
you?
builder's architect built, drew it.
But he didn't do anything else for you? As far as a full set of architectural plans?
Does the builder probably has them with foundation drawings and everything, right? You have a whole stack for the
I
builders
don't-
have them?
I don't know if he's done that or not yet.
Okay, that might be the answer, that next step might be that might tell everybody everything that they need to know. Or, like I said, I think Keith may be able to look at the existing, what he's already done, and plop these plans right in there, and that'll give you an average. He'll be able to calculate that average height, and you know it's off of existing grades too. So however he does it, typically it's in there. He usually has it in the list.
Yeah, well,
What? So he doesn't have to wait 6 months to come back in if he gets turned down.
so, I mean, you kind of understand the kind of questions and concerns we're kind of having here as we're asking these questions here. So, I guess before proceeding further, like I say, we can give you the option, again, like I said, if you want to, like, withdraw the plans that you have now and maybe bring, like, say, if you want to come back, continue this to next month and maybe have some more concrete plans with some more facts and figures that your builders or your, I'm sure, well-paying for should be providing you this information there too. If they even want to come by and, come here to present, with you on your behalf as well too, we definitely welcome to have them as here present as well too. That way we could also ask them questions as well, since they're kind of more on that too. Again, that's up to you.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay, so you want to continue this till next month there and withdraw the,
That's what we need to do.
okay, so that's up to you. I'm just giving you whatever options you have
No.
there, so.
I wanna move forward and whatever I need to do to
Okay.
do it and do it properly, we'll do
Okay.
it that way.
I guess I should entertain a motion to have this continued, or we just go ahead and allow it to be continued?
You can continue.
We'll just go ahead and continue this till next month if you
Well,
want
no,
to.
you should, I'm sorry, you should do a motion and a vote, but that is an option, you can continue it.
If we're going to continue this, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to.
I make a motion to continue this until the next month's meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We will have you on the agenda for next month. And like I said, just get with your architects, your builders there, and let them know what's going on, and that you'll be heard again next month. And again, if they want to come come accompany you and make a presentation, we would be more than happy to hear from them too. We can probably ask them questions too.
What's the date on that one?
That is, hold up,
25th.
25th.
I would recommend, that's what we presented.
Yep.
Like Ryan said, talk to Peter Keefe and just say on the zoning table, on your plan, if you can update it and show the building height that's existing and what's proposed. If it's the same, perfect, but if it's gonna be more, that's what the board needs to know. As far as I know, everything else is in order, right?
Yep.
It looks
So
like-
really, it's the height is what you're looking
The
for?
height is the big thing, yeah.
From what I have and what's proposed.
Yes.
The max was 30 feet.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you have. The only thing that matters is what you're gonna wind up with when it's finished.
Right,
Well, big difference.
right, okay. 30 feet is the max.
And it's the average of the grade of the lowest level.
And we completely understand the dilemma you're in with your wife and the safety issues all too, but just like I say, we want to give you all these options here to go forward too, so so. All right,
Very good.
thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
As well.
Mr. Chair, come before you. I have some good news. So if you remember our last meeting, kind of on the fly, we were trying to make the wording correct for 211 West Wakefield Boulevard. We have it cleaned up, so if you would like, or I would like for you, if you'd mind, to re-sign. I don't think Ryan was seated for that meeting though. Last one? Yeah, so you may not, but if everybody else can sign these 2 pages, that would be great. Oops, and that's just more for the record than anything else, or for the file, I should say.
by, you seconded it. Yep, okay.
211. It's coming back to me now. Do I sign both here and here or
Sure,
just here?
yeah, well, yeah, because then you approved it anyway, so.
Yep, last one, 211, correct. He signed, he's gonna sign it.
Yes. Well, again, this is more for record keeping than nothing legal. But thank you guys for doing that.
Have they submitted as-built for the cottage yet? That's underwater?
They're not done yet.
Yeah, they're not done yet, and they have to, I was out of the office last week, we have to make sure that they applied for the, earth excavation, that was the last thing that came up in the planning and zoning commission's meeting. So,
For
and I
For
didn't
the
check
new-
their,
For the new project?
for 211, yeah. So, yeah, we're still working with them, that's the short answer.
On the boathouse?
Yes.
The boathouse, you've been working with them, and
I just went out to inspect the generator, but they're still working.
the flooring, I know came up.
The flooring discussion
Planning and
came
zoning.
up, and according to Bill, who inspected it, according to the reports and everything, the floor is put in as
For the specs.
per the specs and
Okay.
per the permit as it was given. And it's just, it's the way it's designed. That water on a splash is gonna come up into the basement of it, but there is a platform down there that's also elevated where the washer and the dryer are and storage closet and stuff is. So those items are fine according to all the inspection reports that are in the file.
Would they be allowed to come back for another variance to lift the cottage? To get it out of the water?
Yes, I could, in theory. Because unfortunately I wasn't with town yet when it started, but
Right.
my understanding was they could only build what was there before. So they must have had the same heights before.
I'm not gonna comment on that. I would've thought somebody would've had a better plan. You don't build something that's gonna be underwater, high water mark. But maybe it'll float.
Floating floor?
All right,
Wanna
Did you
approve
have-
the minutes?
yeah, well, just gonna see if you had anything further, you're still standing out
I
there.
do, but we can do it after, even though no visits, everything else is
Okay.
done. But if you wanna approve the minutes, or if you saw anything that needs to be added.
Yeah, I was gonna say, ask if anyone had a chance to look at the minutes from last month's meeting. Okay. Any additions or corrections, anyone? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries.
Give me 4 minutes and I'll have you out of here.
Big time.
Turn this thing on.
No, it's on record.
On the record?
We should do it as a meeting. What's the first thing I wanna tell you? So the first thing, if you remember last meeting, we had a lot of discussions and thought for just how to interpret the zoning regulations. We should have multiple boards together, which I think is an awesome idea. So Jeff, our zoning enforcement officer, and I have already been working on it. We wanna have you meet with inland wetlands, specifically for, impervious coverage. And we're gonna have representatives from planning and zoning commission. So all 3 boards will get together finally soon, which I think would be very productive, because we struggle sometimes with what's the interpretation on the regulations, even though they're perfect supposedly. And the things that have come up, we would like to talk with the boards on what was your intent. So another thing that you guys had talked about, and I don't have a strong feeling one way or another, but I think we just need to be consistent. So if somebody is only coming in with an impervious coverage issue, but they're trying to reduce it, everything else they want to propose is in the setbacks and everything, there's 2 ways to look at it. You guys had mentioned you thought that was a hardship for that person to come in to have to apply and get that on the records. The thing is that variance, or it's shouldn't come before ZBA, I think that's fine, we just have to make it sure we do that all the time for anybody who comes.
Now, are you able to make an agent determination
So
on something
Jeff
like
can,
that?
yes.
So he could look at it and say, there's no changes other than they're changing an asphalt driveway to an impervious paver driveway? And he can just,
He has that.
that makes,
Without,
It's up to you guys.
without necessarily having him come before us and make that
Right.
determination?
with no setback changes, no
Yeah.
elevation
No,
changes.
no changes in any numbers at all?
It's impervious to pervious? I think
Not
that,
gonna have any effect, on inland wetlands? Are we gonna be in conflict with them?
No, and that's part of why we wanna have that conversation specifically, cause one thing, we've actually met with the engineers from, Haley Ward to talk about impervious coverage, and they're doing a little research for us as well, which is terrific, just to make sure that whatever we come up with a concept or thing, we wanna make sure it's the right thing. I always lean towards the conservative side, so if it's gonna be on the land records, you probably should be making a judgment call on it. But again, from a practicality, if it's something that's better for the situation, why are we having them come before ZBA, who's definitely gonna say yes? So it's,
Well, if there's gonna be an issue with, like, with wetlands as far as that goes, I mean, is that something that we should be discussing with them at this joint meeting?
probably, especially anything that's in the 100-foot review area, which again, really won't. Most everything that we've gotten in for an application has some kind of, like, oh, I have 10 feet, now I want 8 feet from the side, you know, or something like that.
I kind of think that every situation is unique, and to say, to give a blanket okay to do it X, I don't know that that's, I mean, for ease of your department and that kind of thing, and keeping less people before the board, yeah, okay, but
If it's not a matter of public record, what's to stop somebody from going out there doing it without permission and having it come back to bite one of us in the end?
I mean, I can see that too being a transparency issue too, you know. Just anything that is, involves a land record, land use, whatnot, should be before public forum, should be discussed in public, so in case anyone anyone else from the public has questions, concerns about it, then they have something they can go back on. So what do you think?
I guess I would have to look and see what, you know, Jeff would be the ultimate one to say, you know, if his name is on it, right, if he makes a decision. So if he's educated enough to understand what the effect is on inland wetlands and on zoning, and he doesn't see any conflicts or any kind of issues or concerns, it's still going to him.
Right.
He's just the one to make the decision of whether or not it should come to either board, or just, he says, go, right? I think that's kind of his role, the way I understood it.
Lance, when do we think, when are you guys thinking about tentatively when we're gonna be meeting?
Soon.
Like how soon, what are you talking like?
Maybe next week, maybe next month. we could
Maybe
try to
next
do
month,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
we could.
I mean, my thought right now, and this, again, I'm just speaking for myself, everyone can speak for themselves too. Keep things as is until we do meet,
Okay.
and then the concerns we have, or, you know, the questions we would have for any of the other commissions, so we don't necessarily overstep our boundaries or overlap, you know, what they have, you know, and then also we can talk with Jeff as well too, and just, you know, if that's something that maybe that the other boards may wanna go with as well too, we can discuss with him and make sure he understands what his, you know, I mean, again, his name would be on it, but, I mean, just until, I would say until that time, we keep things as is. I mean, if people wanna, you know, any other, zoning changes or whatnot, or appeals, just need to come before us as well too, until then, so.
Wanted to make that known that we're working on it, and just let you know that I do listen when you ask me to follow up on something, so, good. Just so you know, Augie is gonna be stepping into now as the main staff for ZBA, and the main reason why is, my role's changing a little bit with Ted Schaefer, our economic development director, gonna be leaving likely at the end of June, so that means I will be staffing EDC as well, which I'm assuming is gonna be more of a time sucker on my part to get our tax revenue, our grand list up, right? That's what everybody wants, so, which is totally fine. And I've already been working with Paul Harrington, our new town manager, and I understand that role, and it's actually a good, it's a better use of my time personally and my skills. Like I mentioned in the past, you know, some of these applicants with the music studio, I hadn't even met that gentleman until he came in that night. The first line is Shane, you know, she gets the application on open.gov, she talks with the applicants, make sure they have all the things. Sorry we missed the building height one, it was good that you continued this meeting, it was really good that Augie was here to try to figure it out. That's not your role to figure it out, by the way. If they don't have all their materials, they should come back, so you made the right decision. But we should have caught that first. And second is, because they really are starting to, they deal with Shane, they'll deal with Jeff on the zoning, and then they're talking with Augie to kind of get ready for their building plans. I'm really not in the mix. So I'm not trying to shank any responsibility, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense for me to be involved. And I really like you guys a lot, so I'm not trying to ditch you as well. I think we've come a long way in a year and a half, by the way. By the way, I did not have the luxury, I just got thrown into it. I didn't want to do that to Augie. So that's why he was here the last few meetings, to kind of get his feet wet, and I think you're gonna be in really good hands personally.
We like you too, but goodbye.
Yeah.
But I'm not gone. I'll be still the backup essentially for
You gotta deal with my wife now.
You probably noticed with Mary Ann, she used to serve on the Inland Wetlands Commission for quite a few years, stepped down, I think she had family issues. She wants to get back involved, and yes, she's related to Paul, we'll leave it at that. There's no conflict there. And I think Mary Ann personally would be a really good fit for this board. I think she has enough land use experience to be able to step right in right away, which would be good. We will follow up with Todd and make sure, and just so everybody else knew, with Paul, I think we mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, the reason why Paul couldn't really attend, and this came out of my training from last week, any kind of perceived conflict, you just want to avoid at any choice. Now, Paul technically lived right outside of the Butters area. In theory, he should have been able to, he shouldn't still have been on the board, but he could have potentially spoken either in favor or against as a resident. I tried to discourage him even from doing that because, again, his opinion is going to influence your decision. And so we don't ever want to put ourselves in a weird position, whereas if Mr. Bellinger had gotten an approval and one of the neighbors, obviously nobody came, but if they were upset, they would say, hey, you know, there was some bias that happened, even if it was unintentional. In the same way, if he had been denied, and thought maybe it was because of Paul's comments or because of his, you know, feelings about the project, then he could maybe have brought the town. We're trying to avoid taking the town to court at all odds. So that's why I recommend to Paul, and he understood. So if I ever notice in the future, you know, there's an application that's near your area, or it could be something, I'm gonna ask that you not participate. And hopefully that you understand. So what else can we talk about? Really good training last week. So Shane and I talked with Aubrey, it was the Connecticut Association of Zoning Enforcement Officers. And it's a week-long training. They have the TCP, Howard River Highlands. Pam in the past had attended that training. Jeff went last year. And so Shane and I just wanted, so we could all be on the same page for knowing the rules essentially and give you guys the best guidance. So I felt really good coming out of it. I don't know if I passed the exam. I'm not a very good test taker. But I felt very good that, because we've had a year of experiences with specific projects, that I was like, oh, that relates to, you know, 211 West Wakefield Boulevard. And this is a good question because you may have saw from that Monday night training, you know, variances really should not ever be given out. I know John is actually getting it right, personally. Variances are really, it has to be a hardship. The only hardships that are even questionable but would be topography, which we have a lot of hills in town, or wetlands. So if the site is like literally, really should never even build a building in the site. That came up, by the way, too, 128 Shore Drive, the lot, and I admitted, we brought it before you guys to make a decision if that should have been his building lot. He said, no, it's a building lot. So we got it right, but in the sense I was trying to be conservative there too and let that be your decision, but we did it correctly, so that was good. But just, well, again, having that kind of training, it's just helpful. We can catch and make this much more efficient for you guys, so you don't have to struggle up here. That's the goal. But the other thing that came up from 211 West Wakefield, if you remember, they had the .2 height variance. Now, could you say, well, one level of that house could have not been included? Maybe. But essentially, the roof line, if I remember correctly, was already higher than what was allowed, and they were actually making it more compliant, even though it's still over.
They're dropping it.
So that one is a valid variance. The application tonight for the garage and the roof and the house expansion should be considered a variance.
Well, they're not, on that one, they're not changing the height of the building. They're raising,
Tonight's-
no,
Oh,
to 11.
211.
They're changing the grade to accommodate
Sure.
the height. So they're not essentially shrinking the building this way.
That's true.
They're shrinking the building this way.
Right.
So,
So that is a valid, I'm calling them valid variances where we really should be considering them. And again, you guys can say no. If you don't think it's appropriate, that's appropriate to say no. But most of the things you're gonna hopefully see in the future really are special, in my opinion, they're special exceptions to what the zoning is. There are things like the music studio is a good example. If it sort of made sense to the neighborhood and it's not gonna really impact, you should consider it as a valid special exception to the rules. And if you didn't feel like, well, that shouldn't have been allowed, then you can still say no, obviously. But we're trying to, every town in Connecticut is getting it wrong with variances. They give it out way too often. So we're trying to, when somebody comes in with an application for a variance, we're gonna say, is it really a variance or is it really a special exception you're asking for? And so we'll try to get it right and maybe be one town in Connecticut who's actually got a better, as long as we're consistent, in my opinion, with whatever the ruling is and how to kind of evaluate each project, then if they ever did go to court, they're not gonna be an issue.
I think it's really important, on both your end, being in the land use office, and on our end, being basically a civilian board here that makes these decisions here, we need to make sure all our facts and figures are, on the same page, in line with the town ordinances, state regulations and all too. So I mean, it's on both sides needs to, make sure we're doing
So,
the right
but
thing.
I don't know if I could ask a question about this one specifically.
To get too into the weeds, I'll tell you to wait till next meeting, but.
Well, I'm curious as to a special exception
Yeah.
versus.
We're still recording, that's,
Yeah.
yeah,
About a specific project, probably shouldn't talk about, but.
No,
well, hold off, talk to Ray John. 1 second here.
Yep.
Was there anything else you wanted to bring up?
For updates.
one thing I do wanna ask about that meeting, while we're on that subject. They were talking about the hardships. The Highland Lake Shores subdivision of the 50 by 100-foot lots around Highland Lake in 1927.
Yep.
That's a hardship for every single house that's up there.
So I have a deed that I read today, and it says in the deed, it's Highland Lake zoning, and it says one of the restrictions is that the property has to be a single-family dwelling or a garage, and it must be no closer than 15 feet from the road. So even though you have a 50-foot rule, it says 15 feet on the deed. So does the deed overpower the zoning regulation?
Zoning regulations. This
Or
a
is that the
great
hardship? Is that,
Attorney question, and the weird thing that also came out of my training is, where are you looking for, like, with the building, if that person's permit was back and approved at a certain date, you go from those current building permit terms. But if they didn't move on it in time and they still wanna put in their project, now you're looking at the most recent regulation approvals. And zoning is kind of the same way, but, it's weird, if they've never been developed, I think they have to abide with current zoning regulations.
even though
When were
it's
these
written
deed-
into the
When
deed?
were these deeds written?
Well, the most recent one was written 2 weeks ago, and it's in that deed.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question too.
Such a weird gray area. So if you have one specific, I would say let's just talk to our town attorney and see what we can say.
It's interesting. I'd never seen it in a deed like that, so.
So, just to clarify, what you're asking is, does the predated 15-foot thing is prior to the zoning regulations, so does that supersede the zoning regulations now?
Right,
Just wanted to get that clear in my head.
yeah.
So that's the question,
You'd have to get a variance from that.
yeah.
Variance for the, so if it's 50 feet on zoning regulation and the deed says 15 and you asked for 35, are
And
you,
there was never a house on it.
and there was
It's
never a
always
house
been
on it?
vacant. I would lean towards they'd have to abide by what the zoning is now. But again, I'm not a lawyer, so I would.
That's
I would
definitely,
ask.
definitely a town attorney question, probably.
It's always worked that way in the past.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
If you had a house on the property and it was torn down or fire or something, I think you are allowed to rebuild in that footprint. There's some
Right.
things that are.
I dealt with a lot of those 25 by 100-foot lots at the lake when I was building. And it was always a set rule that you had to follow today's regulations based on those dimensions. I know of one particular street that's off 30 feet. It's 30 feet farther away from the lake than the original plot plan. What do you do with that?
Yeah. Well, survey. That's why we require them.
Do we have any other,
It's,
did you have anything else, Lance?
Nope.
Augie, you have anything for us?
No correspondence.
Anything from this board before we adjourn?
make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Motion made in second, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, we're adjourned.